Hello everyone, my name is Paul with Tutor U, and today we're going to be talking about probabilities. This will help you out if you're going to be taking the GED test, ACT, if you're in high school, any type of introductory statistics class. I am marketing most of my videos to GED students because that's what I used to be. I was a former GED instructor. If you like this video, I would greatly appreciate it if you hit the like button. And if you don't like it, hit the dislike button. I can still see it. Also, I do have my website, so if you need hands-on assistance, if you need a virtual tutor, I can be your tutor. So just go ahead, I'll put the link in the description down below. Otherwise, let's get started with an example problem. Before we get started with an example problem, I want to define or give you a loose idea of what probability is. And that is the chance of an outcome occurring during a specific event. So if you flip your quarter, if you have one nearby, there's a 1 out of 2 chance that it is heads. There is a 1 out of 2 chance that it is tails. Just to give you that loose initial idea of what a probability is. There are 2 types of probabilities. There is theoretical probabilities, and that's your in theory. So in theory, each time you flip a coin, you have about a 50% chance of flipping heads. However, that's not the actual thing that's going to occur. So let's go to the next probability. The other type of probability is actual probability. If you toss a quarter 10 times and get heads 6 times, the experimental probability is 6 out of 10, which simplifies to 3 out of 5. So to put it plainly or simply, it is what you're actually doing. If you are flipping a coin, you are recording your heads and tails. So this is your experimental probability. Now, if you're just writing it out, there's always the experimental probability of 1 out of 2 of getting heads on your quarter. I hope that clarifies the differences between experimental and theoretical probabilities. Now that you have all of this under your belt, we can get going with some example problems. One of the most common probability problems that you'll find on the GED, ACT, in high school, or any introductory statistics class is going to be the bag of marbles problem. In this one, we have a bag of marbles. There's 10 of them. It contains 4 striped marbles, 4 white marbles, and 2 black marbles. And I'm just going to ask you some general questions about them, such as, what is the probability of pulling out a white marble? Well, we have 4 out of, let me get everything all set up. Well, we have 4 white marbles. Okay, so this is what we are looking for. This is what we want. And on the bottom, we put the total number of marbles. So there's 10. And then you just reduce the fraction. So 2 goes into 4 and 10. So my end fraction is 2 over 5. So the probability of me pulling a white marble is 2 out of 5. Or we can write it as a ratio, like this. And we can also write it as a percentage, 20%. Okay, so not too bad. Now, what's my probability of pulling a black marble? So I only have 2 black marbles. This is what I want. So top number is what you want. Bottom number is total of your event. So up here, we have black marbles, 2 black marbles. And on the bottom, we have 10 total marbles. So it's 2 out of 10. Reduce the fraction, 1 out of 5. Or 1 to 5. And lastly, it is, well, so 1 out of 5, that's half as much as 2 out of 5. So that is 10%. All right, so that's our first nice, easy example. I'm going to get into some questions that you're going to more often find on the GED now. However, like I said, it's still going to help you out whatever you're doing. I hope it does. If it is helping you, make sure you like the video, subscribe. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you need extra help, make sure you comment down below. Here is our first wordy example problem. It is another marble problem yet again, but this time it's more complex, as you can see by all of the beautiful words up here, right? Let me read this for you. This is very, very similar to what you'll find on the GED. So, in the first event, Mark draws a striped marble. He does not replace it. In the next 3 events, Mark draws 2 striped marbles and 1 black marble. He does not replace those marbles either. What is the probability that he will select a white marble on the 5th event? So, let's just gather for a second. Hold your horses. Pause the video. Read this a couple of times. Figure out what's going on. I'm going to work through it. What I'm going to do with this problem to make it easier, just forget about all of that stuff. Let's first list what marbles we have in the bag and the probabilities of them, okay? So we have, in the bag, we have our 2 black marbles, okay? We have 2 black marbles, so that's 2 out of 10, so that's black. We have 4 white marbles, 4 white. And we have 4 striped marbles. And that is also out of 10. Now let's reread this problem. In the first event, Mark draws a striped marble. So that means that we got rid of one of these. And now this is down to 9. And this is also down to 9. We've thrown out the marble, okay? In the next 3 events, Mark draws 2 striped marbles. So now we're down to 1 and 7, 7, 7. And 1 black marble, 1. He does not replace any of these marbles. What is the probability that he will select a white marble on the 5th event? Well, since we've done it this way, the answer is right here. So, the probability of him pulling a white marble out of the bag on the 5th event is 4 out of 7. And we can write that as a ratio this time. Or you can write it as a fraction. 4 over 7. That is a funny looking 4. All right. It's a lot to digest. Take it in. And we're going to move on to the next example problem. So we've moved beyond the marble problems now, as you can see, because we have a spinner. Spinners are one of the other favorite things in statistics and probability, just to kind of help confuse you, right? Well, I mean, it's not to confuse you, it's to make sure that you're learning the material. So it says Maude uses the spinner to conduct a probability experiment. So what we're going to do is we're going to spin the spinner. I'm not actually going to spin it, but we'll get it all figured out. We're going to list all of the probabilities out, and then we're going to answer our questions. The probability of landing on 1 can be written as, well, we have 1, 2, 3 ones. And there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 possible zones to land on, right? So we are 3 out of 8 for landing on a 1. So landing on a 1. Okay, what about the probability of landing on a 2? Well, there's 3 2s in the spinner. So that is 3 out of 8 for landing on the 2. I'll just put that here. Now, what's the probability of landing on a 3? Well, we only have 2 of them, so 2 out of 8, or let's reduce this down so it is 1 out of 4 for landing on a 3. Now that we have all of that written down, let's look at a question. On the first spin, what is the probability that the spinner will land on an odd number? Well, when we look at it, we have our probability of landing on 1, which is 3 out of 8, and our probability of landing on 3, which is 1 out of 4. You have to add those two fractions together. The nice part is I still have the 1 out of 4 written as 2 out of 8, so we just add the 2 and the 3. We get 5 out of 8. So the probability of landing on an odd number is 5 out of 8. We have added our 3 and our 2 here, our non-reduced fraction, our not simplified fraction. We've added those two together because they have the same least common denominator, and that gives us our probability of 5 out of 8. Can also be written as our 5 out of 8. That is the first question dealing with this spinner. Now we have our next question, which is on the second spin, what is the probability of the spinner landing on a 1 or a 2? And this is why I have written out the probabilities before even going to the questions. You know that it's going to be a probability-based question, so write out all of the probabilities first. That way, it's a lot easier to do this stuff. So we need to add the probability of landing on a 1 and the probability of landing on a 2. And that is 3 over 8 plus 3 over 8. And that equals 6 over 8, or in other words, that is 3 out of 4, the reduced fraction. So the probability of landing on a 1 or a 2 is 3 out of 4, or about 75, not about, it is exactly 75%. So I hope these questions helped you better understand probabilities, the marble problem, the spinner problems. These are very, very common on the GED. And if you want to help support me, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'm going to be posting a lot of content. If you need extra hands-on help and you're just not getting it, make sure you check out my website, tutoru.net/mind. I'll put the link down in the description. Otherwise, I hope you have a beautiful day. I greatly appreciate you watching my video.